Welcome to the ATU Sports Corner. I'm your host, Donovan, along with Caden and Brandon. We're going to start the show off today with the awards for the NBA season, and the first one is the Rookie of the Year. Who do y'all think is going to get that?
Not going to get too cute here. I'm just going to roll with Cooper Flagg. I think he is the heavy favorite. He has minus odds to win the award, and I think that's absolutely deserved. Cooper Flagg obviously is a very high-level prospect. He's one of the better American prospects we've seen in a long time. And he's in a very good situation as a rookie. He is in a situation where the team wants to win. He's in a situation where he doesn't have too much ball handling responsibility or scoring load, but at the same time he has enough to get the type of numbers and accolades you would need to be Rookie of the Year. Anthony Davis is going to take a lot of pressure off of him, and Kyrie won't get there till later on in the season. I think he's very good. I think he has capabilities as a ball handler that he will get to show off a lot because of that Kyrie injury, and there's a lot of questions about Dallas guards, which I will get to in more detail later, but I think he's in a great situation to win the award.
Yeah, I like what you said there about just not having too much of a load to score, and that's going to be actually one of the reasons I'm also going to take him to win Rookie of the Year. I don't think he's facing too much pressure on this Dallas team that's already a contender. They have Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving will be back, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. This team has great players with phenomenal coaching in Jason Kidd. He just got an extension, and I think this Mavs team is already a contender that got the #1 overall pick. Of course, we know it's from the Luka trade. But Cooper Flagg, it's not just his offense that was outstanding in college. He averaged 19, 7, and 4, but he also averaged 2.8 stocks. His defense is incredible, and I think his usage rate, his defense, all of these things combined, I think it's just going to amount to too much. These other rookies like Dylan Harper, I know we talked about his usage rate might be a little low. And these other guys, I like Edgecombe, but also just on that Sixers team, you never know. Ace Bailey, I don't think he has a real shot. So I think Cooper Flagg, on a good team already, with not asking too much of him in his rookie year, I think he has phenomenal shots to win this one.
I think VJ Edgecombe obviously is going to be a lot of fun, but again, with the opportunities for him. But with Dylan Harper, I think just with De'Aaron Fox there, with Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama, I even expect to take a lot more of a guard type role offensively at times. I find it hard to foresee a scenario where he gets a ton of offensive opportunity to really go out and play his game, because his game is very ball dominant. He's a very ball-centric player, heliocentric type offenses is a lot of the stuff he would run at Rutgers. So I think he's just not really in a position, although he is super talented, to win the award this year.
Up next, we're going to do our most improved player. Who do you think is going to get that?
I'm going to take Andrew Nembhard on this one personally, just because this Pacers team, they are missing Tyrese Halliburton, and we saw what Andrew Nembhard can do last year when Halliburton is missing. Now, also on this Pacers team, I do like Benedict Mathurin, but I'm not going to take him for this award just because the forward positions aren't changing. They still have Pascal Siakam, but this is putting Andrew Nembhard in the lead role along with TJ McConnell, but I think Nembhard is going to step up into a huge role this season. Last season, averaged 10 points a game, not bad, but if you watch him in the playoffs, he really showed stretches of that he could be a potential all-star caliber player. And I think this year, Halliburton being out and the East being wide open, I think there's plenty room for Nembhard to make a push.
Yeah, Nembhard's an interesting one. Like you said, the Pacers are going to have a lot of opportunities that they did not have last year with Halliburton out for the year, obviously. And like you said, there's a lot of different guys on the Pacers who could win that award. I even saw Jarris Walker make an appearance on the odds list. I think Nembhard is the most likely candidate of those guys. But I do just wonder, the nature of the most improved awards sometimes, and this is in Nembhard's favor, oftentimes ends up being did you just get more opportunity more than you actually just got better? But a guy who I think has a chance to do both of those things is Shaedon Sharpe with the Portland Trailblazers. I think this Trailblazers team is going to be better than most people expect, which I will talk more about later. But he is in a perfect situation to grow his game specifically. He is a guy who likes to put up a lot of shots, take a ton of threes, get to the rim a lot, and I think that's exactly what Portland needs him to do. That team is a lot of high-level defenders, not a lot of high-level creators, and that is exactly what Shaedon Sharpe can be, and I think he will be. He averaged 20 a game last year, but wasn't a terribly efficient or impactful 20 a game. I expect him to get up 24, 25 range and have a little bit more impact in those numbers themselves.
We now have Defensive Player of the Year. Caden, who do you think is the best at defense this year?
Well, if you're asking me who the best defensive player is, it's obviously Victor Wembanyama. But if it comes to health, consistency, and overall just play, I don't think so. Wemby is never guaranteed to play a full season or even near it, and neither is this Spurs team guaranteed to be a contender in this stacked Western Conference. But on the other side, the favorite Eastern Conference team is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and leading their headway on defense is Evan Mobley. Last year, he had one of the highest defensive rating, ranked 6th, and he played 71 games along with 2.7 stocks. He has been a phenomenal defender ever since he entered the league, even back to when he played at USC. And I think he's going to continue that in this year. Even with him and Jared Allen both being great rim protectors, I don't see any reason he doesn't continue that on. And I think the real reason he just wins this over Wemby this year is just going to be health.
Yeah, Evan Mobley is one of my favorite players to watch in the league. And like you said, he is such a good defender. He is so versatile on that end, being able to step out and guard guards. But, you know, honestly, it's really hard for me to see anyone beating a healthy Victor Wembanyama. He is just absolutely incredible on really both ends of the floor, but the defensive ends specifically. Last year, he was averaging a ridiculous amount of blocks whenever he was out there. He even gets quite a few steals just because of that insane, 8-foot-long reach. He's absolutely unlike any player I've ever seen before. I sincerely have so much fun watching that guy play. And it's really hard for me to say anyone else is going to win the award as long as that guy's in the league. He is a one-man wrecking crew on the defensive end of the floor.
I like Wemby too. It's hard to bet against him. It's just the health. The health is just throwing me off, especially being that tall. It's so hard for him to stay healthy.
Yeah, I think one thing that does encourage me about the health stuff, though, is the deep vein thrombosis is what he was diagnosed with. And that's such a freak thing that no one can ever control. He's never really had a real physical injury that happened because he was playing basketball in the NBA. And I think that kind of inspires just a little bit of optimism in that facet for me.
Our last award is going to be the MVP award. And Brandon, who do you think is going to take that?
You know, there's a lot of talk about guys like Luka maybe getting his first MVP, maybe Jokic taking the helm back as officially the undisputed greatest player in the world. But, you know, this OKC team is going to be so dang good this year. And I think they're going to get close to 70 wins. And it's hard for me to see someone beating out Shea for that award if they get to 70. Shea just continues to improve his game year in and year out. Last year, he was better as a pull-up shooter and defender, and I expect him to improve his three-point shot a lot this year because that's really the one thing left in his game that's not elite. But this guy, he's so committed on both ends of the floor every single night. He works so hard. He works so well with his teammates. With as good as the Thunder are going to be and as good as I believe Shea will be, I have a hard time seeing them turning him down.
Just like you saw in those clips, I completely agree. It's not just offense that Shea does well. He is elite on the defensive end, one of the first guards to average 30 and multiple steals since Michael Jordan. He has been phenomenal for this Thunder team, averaged 32 points last year, Finals MVP, regular season MVP, Conference Finals MVP, and the scoring champion. To follow that up again this year, the Thunder as a whole are only getting better, have their line set at 62.5 total wins. That's the highest since the 2018-19 Warriors, and the leader of that team is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know if you saw the ESPN rankings, but they had Jokic at number 1, which Jokic is a very good player. But after that season, that's disrespectful. And I don't know if Shai looks at that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't take that lightly. And I think Shai is coming back harder every single season to continue to prove that OKC will always be a contender if he's in Oklahoma.
Yeah, MVP is a super hard award to repeat, but I think the way that the Oklahoma City Thunder play basketball, the sort of mentality that they carry themselves, and the leader of that mentality being Shai, that just live to improve every single day. I have a hard time seeing Shai taking his foot off the gas. I think he's just going to give us more and more of that incredible stuff we saw last year.
In the Netflix documentary they just released, Starting Five, they asked him about averaging 30 a game, and he said, it used to be great if he had 30, but now if he has 30,
it's a bad game.
That's a bad game. That's underwhelming for 30 points.
It's pretty good.
30's
pretty good.
Most guys would love to have 30, and he has 30, and he says that's below average.
A lot of guys never get 30.
Exactly. And for him to say that's below average, to have that mentality going into every game, there's no way that I don't think he doesn't win Most Valuable Player again unless Jokic just comes out and averages an insane triple-double.
Yeah, and I mean, that's plausible. Jokic is one of the best players I've ever seen, especially on the offensive end. It's just with that Nuggets team being constructed the way they are, I just wonder if their defense will ever be good enough for Jokic to not just get absolutely slandered for it, even if he might take a little bit more blame than he deserves at times. I think that both sides of the floor aspect will hold him back, as well as Luka.
That's my only discredit to him and Luka is just the defense. But I do think Luka could be a little improved at defense. As we saw, he's looking pretty slim. That could potentially change his defense, but it's also a little bit of a mindset thing. But I've also heard LeBron's been getting to him about mindset, just getting a winning mentality, wanting to get right in the league. And I think Luka will be a very good player. He's going to continue to get better, but I just don't think his defense will ever amount to Shai's, and Shai's offensive stats are just right with him.
Can I be honest? I'm sick of the skinny Luka, fat Luka stuff. Can we just wait for the basketball to be played? But
the pictures look good.
They do, but
that's the best we've ever seen Luka look since he's been in the. I mean, rookie Luka was pretty slim, but
I know.
Luka looks phenomenal.
I want to watch the games, man. I don't want to sit here and look at his body and theorize about what kind of shape he's in.
He
looks great, but
looks great. I mean, that's a little Photoshop, I'm sure, a little bit of editing. But I mean, I watched him on the Hot Wings show on YouTube. I forgot what it's called, but he looked good on there too. I mean, he looks. I'm expecting a big season from Luka.
Let me see him get 40 minutes a night, then we'll talk.
That's all we have for the award predictions. So we're now going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll do our bold team predictions.
Every 36 seconds, a vehicle is stolen in the United States. Cars are an important investment, and you have the power to protect it. Remove valuables from your car or place out of view. Roll up your windows completely. Don't leave your car running while unattended, especially during the winter. And always lock your doors and take your keys or fob with you. If you know something about a vehicle theft, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB.
This is a public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Everyone tells you to think about the future, but strength, knowledge, and wisdom are what you build along the way. There's power in the process. We value this moment because at ATU, you write your own script to what comes next. So here's your cue. Right here, right where you are. Focus on the now, because our focus is on your success.
We are back with our bold team predictions, and we're going to start it off with our most overachieving team for this season.
I'm going to take, as I have two teams I really like here, but the team I probably like the most will probably be the Miami Heat. I know I said before I was going to take the Pelicans, but just thinking about it a little more, I really do like this Heat team. Tyler Hero's out for a little bit, but I still like him. Bam Adebayo is going to be as good as usual. They added Norman Powell, who is a pure bucket getter. They added Kasparas Jakshuonis from Illinois. He was a floor spacer. And they've added a few other pieces. Davion Mitchell is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Their line for win total is set at 37.5. I think they can get that, especially with how open this Eastern Conference is. Teams like the Celtics being down, the Pacers. I think there's plenty of opportunity for them to go above and beyond that. Khalil Ware is going to continue to get better. This is a young team that has plenty signs to get better all across the board.
I think Eric Spoelstra is probably the best coach in the league at this point. He has been absolutely incredible, even when he's been dealt a not so great hand. And I have actually seen a little bit of hype for Nikola Jovic to win Most Improved Player. I don't really trust that. I don't know if he has the creation ability that would be required to win that award. But the team that I am really looking forward to watch in the West, even though I know the West is stacked, it's going to be super difficult to win a lot of games, is the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers have really built up an identity. Last year, in the last 33 games, they were 18-15, which, like I said, in the West, it's super hard to stay over 500 for any stretch, even close to being that long. And I think with the young age of this team, with all these young guys who they just drafted having a chance to develop, Donovan Clingan is one of the better defensive centers in the league already. And with DeAndre Ayton shipped off, I think he's going to get a big opportunity to take on more minutes. Young Hansen, I also expect to get some minutes in the center role, but I don't know how big of a role that's going to be, even though I do love the young Chinese big man. But like I said, Shaedon Sharpe is a a really potentially good shot creator for them. I think Scoot Henderson also is a guy who's being overlooked. He was the former number 2 overall pick. I think that his ability to get downhill will help this team a lot. And, of course, Tumani Kamara, who they just extended. Denny Avdia, these are guys who can play both ways on the wing. And I think they're going to be so annoying for every single team they play every single night. And, hey, you know, sometimes annoying can get you 40 wins.
The only thing for me with that Trailblazers team is just overall player, I guess, lack of success. I feel like there's no one on that roster that's never really been on a competing team.
They got Drew now.
But he's not – I don't think he's producing – he's always seemed like a quiet guy. I could be wrong when it comes to the locker room. But I don't know how much he's going to change too much. I know they got Dane back, but he's not playing this season. And this Trailblazers team isn't bad by any means. I just don't know if they have a true leader, and I don't know if they have a great coach that's going to lead them too far. Is it still Billups?
Mm-hmm.
Billups is still their coach. I don't know. I just don't know if it's in the cards, but I definitely could see it being possible.
Yeah, one other team that I really like is actually the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm going to talk more about them later. But I think Kristaps Porzingis is an addition that's really being overlooked by a lot of people. I think Kristaps Porzingis is pretty comfortably a top 10 center in the league. He stands at 7'3". He can stretch the ball out to 30 feet, especially at the top of the key. He loves that top of the key 3 ball. I know he had a weird illness last year that kind of severely affected him as a Boston Celtic. Hopefully that's cleared up. I think the Hawks believe it's cleared up because they made that trade for him. And I'll talk about them more later, but I think that's a really potentially dangerous team out east.
Now, on the opposite side of that, who do y'all think is going to be the most underachieving team?
I'm worried about Boston a lot. With Jason Tatum out, I don't know how badly these guys are going to win. I've been seeing lately like talk of Jason Tatum coming back. I don't foresee that happening. Maybe just the idea of that happening could motivate this team to get some wins that they probably shouldn't. But, you know, Jaylen Brown, I don't see him being a guy who can scale his game to the same type of level Tatum was playing at, where he's averaging close to 30 a game. Peyton Pritchard, I know, is a guy who's being talked a lot about scaling his game up in that manner, taking a lot more shots, a lot more threes especially. Even Derek White, I know, is expected to scale his game up. But those, like, outside of Pritchard, I don't know if those two guys can really, like, how much more shots can they take in an efficient way? And outside of those guys, Anthony Simons, who's never been efficient in his entire life and doesn't play a lick of defense, I worry about how much impact he's actually going to have. Sam Hauser's a good shooter, but that's it. And in the big man situation, I mean, Neemias Queta, who I actually like, but he's like at best a low-level backup. And then Luka Garza, Chris Boucher, like not much juice.
Yeah, a big loss for that team that isn't really talked about. It happened kind of recently is losing Al Horford. Al Horford was so valuable to that team, stretching the floor, playing good defense. Very underrated loss. A lot of people have talked about that. Even when Tatum comes back, I think that's going to come back to hurt him. But for my most underwhelming team, I am going to go over to Wisconsin, and I'm taking the Milwaukee Bucks. If you look at this roster on paper, I think it's Giannis and friends. No one else on that roster, true to me, besides maybe Bobby Portis, brings too much true value in my eyes. Kevin Porter Jr. showed that he can still play last year. Gary Trent's been all right. Taurean Prince isn't bad. A.J. Green has shown that he's a good player. But they just don't have a true second piece anymore, especially after giving up Dame, even though he wasn't going to play anyway this year. I think they're going to end up trading Giannis to a contender for a team that's going to be able to give up plentiful amount for him, some picks potentially, and build for the future. But just this year, I don't think the team has enough there outside of Giannis to truly compete and get over their 43.5 win total line.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I think this is actually the team I took on the show last year for underachievers, and for a lot of the same reasons you mentioned. But I think there's like an air of desperation with this Bucks team this year. I think they kind of know this is their last chance to like do something with Giannis, and even if they don't really have the talent to do so, I do believe that means something. I think they're going to go out there and really work hard for it. I don't believe that Giannis will be traded in the season. I think that Milwaukee's going to just hold on to him for as long as they can because they never have had a player like him since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there, and they may never have one again. So I think once you get a guy like that, you hold on to him as tight as you can. And I just, the team's not good. I'll admit that.
I agree with that air of desperation, just saying that, knowing that the time of Giannis is coming to an end. But if they get off to a rough start and they lose a couple games, and they kind of fall down lower in the East, I think they're all just going to be like out of it.
Yeah, I think one interesting point with them is they shot very well from 3 last year, but it was on low volume, and I wonder how real that is. I wonder if they're going to shoot more threes and still remain hyper efficient, or even if they just stay at the same volume, is that efficiency going to go down?
Well, a lot of that was from Dame, which they no longer have, so I think that will go down slightly. I think they're going to they lost Brook Lopez also. He shot a lot of threes, so this team probably will attack the paint a little bit more.
I think Giannis will attack the paint a little bit more. I don't think anyone else is going to do it.
They're going to have AJ Green and other guys out there just spotted up, and that's going to probably be their game plan, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, there's not many paths to like seeing that Bucks team like do anything other than, hey, Giannis, go get to the rim and see what happens.
They would have to have a most improved player candidate rise up for them to want to make anything happen or make a trade, but I don't even know what they trade outside of Giannis.
Who would the most improved guy be? Ryan Rollins? I like Ryan Rollins, but like I don't think Doc Rivers likes Ryan Rollins, to be honest. He didn't play him very much.
I like Bobby Portis. He's good, but his game isn't going to elevate anymore.
He doesn't guard anyone.
He is peaked out where he's at, and he is their clear second best player. Like, by far, I think.
Not Miles Turner?
Miles is all right. Miles, last year in the playoffs, I feel like that was ugly.
Yeah, it was at times, but, like, Miles Turner is still a very good defender, which Bobby Portis is, like, one of the worst defensive big men in the league.
Bobby goes on those stretches whenever I watch Buck games, he gets buckets. Like, if they give him the ball in the mid-range area around the elbow, and they let him just go to work, Bobby gets buckets. I mean, it's undeniable. He just doesn't get a lot of usage, especially last year with Brook and Dame. But now I think he's going to get a lot more usage, and I think Bobby Portis, the Arkansan, could have a big season.
But, like, if you're giving Bobby Portis usage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're underachieving.
Yeah, if you're giving Bobby Portis big usage, you're dead in the water.
That's where we're at. Exactly. Yeah. That's why they're underachieving.
We're now going to go back to break. But when we come back, we're going to finish off the show with our playoff predictions.
You may feel alone.
You aren't. Because we
didn't stay quiet.
I am a businesswoman.
Survivor. Survivor. Survivor.
And we won't stay quiet.
We are back with our playoff predictions, and we're going to start off with the Western Conference Finals teams. What teams do y'all have?
I'm going to take two heavy favorites, actually, in this one, and I think that's honestly the best way to play it, especially with the West being so stacked. I think that's really the best way you can look about it, and that's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. Like we harped on earlier, this Thunder team is phenomenal. Deepest team in the NBA, returning MVP, returning scoring champion. Jalen Williams is coming back and better off an injury. Chet Holmgren, I think, is going to take a leap. I don't think we've reached the full potential of Chet Holmgren at all. And I think Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, they're still the same. Nothing has changed with this roster. They brought back the same team. They added people like Brooks Barnhizer and Chris Youngblood, who aren't great, but with this Thunder team...
Those guys are not going to play.
With this Thunder team, you can turn anybody into something. That's how much I trust Mark Daigneault. And I think Isaiah Joe could continue to get impactful minutes. Jalen Williams. You can go down this whole roster, and this team has meaningful players. And on the Rockets side, they added Kevin Durant, former Rocket Clint Capella. They added Dorian Finney-Smith, who is good on defense, not too much on offense, but adds to their defensive mantra that they have on that team with people like Steven Adams and Amin Thompson, and no longer Dylan Brooks. But that team is just centered around defense, and now they add a pure bucket getter in Kevin Durant. I think Ime Udoka's squad is still going to be very good, and I honestly think that's going to be the matchup. It's opening night game, and I think that's going to be who meets in the Western Conference Finals.
I don't hate that prediction. I am going to agree with you on the Thunder aspect, but with the Rockets, although Amin Thompson is maybe my favorite player to watch in the entire league. With Fred VanVleet going out for the season, I have a lot of worries about the shot creation on that team. Obviously, Kevin Durant's an elite shot creator. Amin Thompson hasn't really shown an ability to do that in the half court quite yet. And, you know, the thing with Fred VanVleet was last year, even though he wasn't the most efficient, like, you look at the advanced numbers, and they're always so much better when he's on the floor. And that's, like, mostly because, like, they just, like, needed a guy out there to just shoot the damn ball every once in a while. Like, you need a guard who can just get up shots every once in a while, and that's exactly what VanVleet was for them. And without that, I don't know if I can take them to the finals, but a team that does have a guard who will shoot the ball, the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving, when he comes back, I think are going to be among the most dangerous teams in the league. With Cooper Flagg, like we talked about earlier, I think that he is going to provide a lot of new aspects to this offense. I think they've talked a lot about using Anthony Davis as an offensive hub, a lot like the Kings have done with Sabonis in the past. They brought in an assistant coach who was the kind of the architect behind that, like the beam offense team with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I expect to see a lot of those same type of concepts with this Dallas team, and I think that their defense and size is going to be just far too much for a lot of teams to handle. And although the Rockets do have the size to contend with them, I don't think they have the spacing or the ball handling and guard playmaking to hang around. So I'm going with the Mavericks and the Thunder.
I think the main thing for this Mavericks team is just going to be making it through the regular season without Kyrie Irving for majority or all of it.
Yeah, I worry. One of the big things for me is just like getting on the other side of the bracket from OKC.
Yeah.
I think every team kind of has that in mind as well. They need to avoid OKC as long as possible, and I think if just get the 6th seed,
Yeah.
something like that. Avoid the play-in.
Make it through the regular season just healthy. Keep everyone that's healthy right now healthy, and still get that playoff spot. So when Kyrie comes back, you're on the opposite side of the Thunder. That's a dream scenario for them.
Yeah,
for sure.
and we saw Minnesota last year come from the bottom half of the bracket and still go all the way to the conference finals, and I think that's exactly the type of year that Dallas could have.
So with that, Brandon, how do you think that Western Conference is going to go?
Well, there's this team in Oklahoma called the Thunder that I'm quite fond of, and I have a hard time picking against them, quite frankly. That team, we're so good, man. I don't know. The defense is one of the greatest of all time, and I have a hard time seeing like Kyrie and Cooper Flagg and Klay Thompson like just completely controlling the offense with Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Jalen Williams guarding those guys. I think that they'd have a really tough time because the spacing on that team isn't great. To be honest with you, P.J. Washington, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, none of those guys are very good shooters. I know P.J. Washington had that whole thing a couple years ago, but we don't need to talk about that. But I worry about that spacing, and especially with a defense like OKC that's very handsy, gets a lot of steals. I think that the Thunder will get the job done and move on to the finals.
I'm also going to take the Oklahoma City Thunder to make it back to the finals. This team that plays in Paycom, they aren't no joke. And if you're going to be watching the Sports Corner this year, you're going to be hearing a lot about them. This is two pretty big Thunder fans. And for us to pick up the first championship last year in team history, that was huge, not just for the city, but for all of these players that had little to no playoff experience coming into that besides like Alex Caruso and maybe a little bit of Isaiah Hartenstein. But this team got nothing but better. This team didn't lose anybody. Everyone's healthy. J-Dub is healthier than he was, like I said earlier. This team got nothing but better. Like I said, 62.5 win total, highest since the 2018-19 Warriors. I see no way this team steps down, and I think they make it right back to the NBA Finals.
Now we're going to move on to the Eastern Conference. What's y'all's matchup for that?
I'm going to take this one, of course, the Cavs. I think they're kind of a consensus pick for this Eastern Conference that is a little wide open. But playing them is going to be a team that's not really in the realm of possibility, but we'll get to them in a second. For the Cavs, I really like Donovan Mitchell. I think he's one of the better guards in the NBA. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they're two of the best defensive big men. DeAndre Hunter's a good 3-and-D. And they have Darius Garland as well, who struggled in the playoffs last year, but I think he can get back on track. And they still have really good guys off the bench like Dean Wade, and they still have – did they re-sign Ty Jerome?
No, he's walked to the Grizzlies.
That's kind of big. I a little lost on that, but okay. Anyway, Cavs, they're still a really good team. This team, with Donovan Mitchell as the leader of it, I don't think there's any way they're not a competitor, especially with the supporting cast. And I think they're going to be facing up against a Magic team that had some really big additions. Paolo Banchero. Last year, I thought he was a dark horse MVP candidate. That did not come to light. But Franz Wagner is a very good right-hand man to him. They have Wendell Carter still. They added Desmond Bane, which I think is one of the biggest pickups of the offseason. They added Tyus Jones, and they drafted Jace Richardson. this Magic team is going to be very dangerous. And in a wide-open Eastern Conference, I see them making to the conference finals.
Yeah, I'm also super high on the Cavs. Like you said with the Darius Garland bit, there is a lot of injury concern there. But if he can stay healthy, I think he's one of the better guards in the league, one of the better shooting point guards, one of the better passing point guards. And I think that's exactly what the Cavs were missing from him in the playoffs. That foot injury really screwed up his defense, and it was a whole ordeal, especially with Mobley dealing with the leg injury as well. But I do have them getting back to the conference finals. And one thing, we mentioned the Ty Jerome loss, but they did bring in Lonzo Ball to replace him. And Lonzo Ball, obviously, great basketball player. It's just a matter of can he stay on the floor. But one guy who no one's really talking about that I think could have a real impact for them is Jalen Tyson. Jalen Tyson, he was a rookie last year, didn't get a whole lot of minutes. But, when he was at Cal, he was a very good creator, very good defender, good shooter as well. I think he's just a very solid wing for these guys. And I think that he can be that guy for them. And I think that because of that, I do have the Cavs going back. But facing off with them, we have the Atlanta Hawks for me. I really believe in Trae Young. I think Kristaps Porzingis is a guy who's been completely overlooked for this team. Zachary Risachet also as well is a young guy who can take a leap. But, man, Kristaps Porzingis, no one's really talking about him, I feel like. I think he's easily a top 10 center in the league when healthy. He has the ability to protect the rim at a super high level. He can stretch the ball out all the way to 30 feet behind the three-point line. And I think he's exactly what Trae Young needs. He needs a guy who can defend the rim, shoot the three, and catch lobs. And they also have a lot of really solid wings as well. Obviously, Dyson Daniels, most improved player of the year last year, came very close to defensive player of the year as well. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who they picked up in free agency, was a big addition. And Jalen Johnson last year, before he went out, was having an all-star worthy year. And I expect more of that. And with all that stuff, I think the Hawks can surprise some people and make it all the way to the conference finals.
The biggest things with all these teams to me, both Eastern and Western, is these teams are only getting better. I don't think any of these teams are on the decline. All of them have very young rosters, especially the Thunder and the Magic. And I think the Hawks do too. Their really only older player is Porzingis. But, he's still playing at a very high level, and he's really not that old. And for the Rockets, their only old player is really Kevin Durant. The rest of that roster is pretty young. And I think all these teams, that's going to be their biggest help as seasons go along, not just past this year, is going to be youth. That's going to help them to be competitive for not just this year, but years to come.
I think one team that people might be a little bit surprised that we didn't mention is the New York Knicks. And that's with good reason. This is a very talented Knicks roster, but with the new coach in Mike Brown, with now Mitchell Robinson expected to be the starting center alongside Karl Anthony Towns, I really worry about the defense. I know the idea behind Mitchell Robinson starting at the 5 is defensive improvement, but I feel like with Karl Anthony Towns at the 4, he's not really quick enough to hang with 4s at this league. Josh Hart kind of really struggled a lot last year. And I know they brought in Jordan Clarkson on the bench, Gershon Yabusele, who I do like to play the 4 or the 5 for them. I don't really think the depth can quite be trusted.
I don't even want to get into this Knicks organization. Firing Tom Thibodeau, what are we doing? He was the coach that got you to where you are. I don't think Mike Brown's a better coach in any facet, personally.
I've never been big on Mike Brown. I wasn't really a big Thibodeau fan myself either, though. But I did kind of question the decision to fire him, just because
it was too soon.
He's very solid and he's a very solid coach, and I feel like they needed that. They needed a guy who was steady. I think part of the reason why they fired him is because they wanted to go into more of an approach with playing depth this year.
Yeah.
Tom Thibodeau famously plays his guys like 40 minutes a night minimum. That's what got Derrick Rose's career basically ruined, is he just played them into the ground. And I think they were concerned about that type of stuff with their guards. Jalen Brunson, they don't want that to happen to. Mikal Bridges. And,
But Thibodeau was the coach, in my opinion, that got this team back to New York basketball, bringing Madison Square Garden back to something relevant. Before he was there, this Knicks team was in the dumps. And I think they're back relevant again more than ever. And they do have a little bit more depth this year, but the way Thibs played them last year, it could have been managed better. But the coach that got you there, you lost in the conference finals to the Indiana Pacers, but this was the Pacers were the hottest team in the playoffs outside of the Thunder, and that's why they made it to the finals. That team was shooting historic numbers from 3. So to lose to them, I mean, you got to take it from what you can. That team is only getting better. But bringing in Mike Brown, I feel like it's not going to create any tension. But I don't know if they're going to be on the uprise more than the decline.
And with that, how do y'all think those games are going to go with that matchup?
I'm going to roll with the Cavs. I just think that this Cavs team is the most talented team in the conference. I think those main four guys are as good as the top four for anybody in the league, and I do think that they have improved their depth. DeAndre Hunter, Sam Merrill, Lonzo Ball, even Jalen Tyson, I think are going to play key roles for this squad. And I think that they are just so much better than they showed in the playoffs last year. I picked them to go to the finals last year. Obviously, that prediction was incorrect, but I think that they have a real chance to bounce back this year. And to be honest with you, there's kind of like a feeling where like they have to bounce back this year because the way the cap is structured, they're in the second apron. They literally can't make trades right now. They have to believe in this group. They have to stick with them. And I think that's going to inspire like this organization to really go all in, these players to go all in. And I think they're going to get over the hump this year.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cleveland to make it back, or not make it back, but I think they're going to make it to the finals. Last year, like we mentioned earlier, they kind of just got hit with a little bit of an injury bug, kind of messed with them a little bit. And like I said, Pacers were just insanely hot when playoff time came. I think this Cavs team is the best structured in the East, and I just don't think there's any way that any other team is really stacking up against them to really be a finals favorite out of the East at this moment.
And with those two conferences, what is y'all's like finals prediction?
You know, these two teams, when they faced off last year in just a couple of games, were incredibly interesting. There was the one game in Cleveland that went absolutely down to the wire. The Thunder had no big man, and it was an absolutely electric game. The Cavs pulled out the win, and then they went to OKC like a week later, and OKC just absolutely blew the doors off of the Cavs. Now, I don't expect that to happen in the finals, but I do think it will be closer to that. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, the depth of this team is just far too much for anyone to handle. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, all of these guys, Cason Wallace. These guys play such a high level on the defensive end every single night. And I think Jalen Williams will be better this year with a little bit of healing on that wrist. He had 40 in the finals on a bum wrist. He couldn't even feel his hand. He was getting injections before every game. Couldn't feel his hand. Drops 40 in the finals. I expect him to shoot the three ball better this year. Chet Holmgren, I think he was obviously affected by that hip injury for the entirety of last year. He had a really hard time shooting threes. He kept getting blocked on threes because there was just there was no threat of him driving.
Short-arming it.
He was short-arming it, and he was getting blocked because they were, defenders they weren't worried about him going past them because of that hip injury, really limiting his mobility. Don't think that'll be the case, and I think OKC does it once again. The Thunder will repeat in 2026.
When you talk about having that dog in you, being scrappy, I mean from the nosebleeds up to the court in Paycom Center, everyone in that building has that dog in them. I mean, from Shai, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Joe, Jalen Williams again. This team is stacked. They play like a family. It's not just basketball there in Oklahoma City. It's a family. They haven't seen a team this good defensively and this close-knit in years. 68 wins last year. 68. Line set at 62.5 this year. 1-7 at home. They only lost 2 games in a row a handful of times. This Thunder team is better than any teams we've seen in a while, and I don't see any reason that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way won't bring this team back to glory.
We talk a lot about the mentality that this Thunder team has, and it's kind of hard for a casual fan to really understand, but it is real. This Thunder team plays with a certain togetherness, a certain hunger, and a die by every single play mentality that you don't normally see in the NBA, especially from defending champions. And of course, we haven't seen them play yet, but every little interview, every little clip I've seen all offseason, they have been so hungry just to do it again. Shai talked about whenever they asked him what it meant to win a championship, he said it's a step in the right direction. I mean, these guys just want it.
They're not
so
satisfied.
Bad. They want it. They need it. They're as talented as any team I've seen in a very long time. Since those Kevin Durant Warriors, I haven't seen a team this good. They have one of the greatest defenses to ever play the game. And I feel like last year they won a title even though they shot terrible from three all playoffs long. I don't expect that to be the case again.
And I think one of the things that goes most unmentioned when talking about how great this Thunder team is the man leading up top. And that is Mark Daigneault, and leading ahead of him is Sam Presti. I mean, this is the greatest office and coaching staff in the league, in my opinion. Mark Daigneault is a phenomenal coach. Won Coach of the Year, not this year, but last. And, I mean, he's amazing. And Sam Presti, I mean, talk about making all the right moves. Not any move since 2007 when he started making these crazy trades that have led up to today. Yes, the butterfly effect. All of them, from the Paul George trade, one of the greatest fleeces in NBA history. I mean, Sam Presti is the man doing it all from up top. Mark Daigneault, he has led this team, and he deserves more credit, and I don't see any way this Thunder team doesn't win again.
Yeah, I see ways, and the ways are mostly just injury, to be honest with you. I don't see many teams just like straight up beating OKC. But, you know, I think we're probably going to get called biased for this, to be honest with you. And I don't blame people.
Care.
I don't blame people for calling us biased, but, you know, I didn't feel I felt very strongly about the Thunder winning the title last year. That was the strongest I've ever felt about any of my favorite teams in any sport winning a title, and I was right. And I feel even stronger about it this year, so I'm not backing down. Thunder in 4, baby.
That's going to be all we have for the ATU Sports Corner this week. I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and make sure to check back next Monday for our next sports show.